Oh boy, where to begin? Where to begin? Goodness, guys, and more stuff broke this morning. But let's see what we've got here on the stack. Democrats and Republicans come together for a bipartisan bill, which is totally bipartisan, has nothing to do with Romney rolling over whatever a Democrat says. But we'll talk just a bit about what's going on in that. Pelosi has announced a select committee to investigate the January 6th selfie fest. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. Biden has a press conference. I don't have much to say to that except for the fact that we finally know why he hid behind Jen Psaki for as long as he did. And the Biden team is suing the people on the road that they assaulted going down the road. I'm not kidding about this either. This is not satire to come up to be an attention grabber. We watched the video last year in October. And the one Biden guy assaulted the guy on the road, and they're suing over that. But we'll get into that once we get to that point on the stack here. It's going to be all this and more over on Contemporary. Hey. Do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. One day, while I'm sitting here doing the last minute prep after I go live here, I'm going to actually just get a little camera in the corner, just like this one that we have up for the news feed. And I'm going to let you guys sit and watch me jam out, because that's what I do before. I'm looking over and seeing what it is that we have to do for the day and making sure all the monitors are up and going and everything. We got cool music now, so I just kind of jam out, and one day I'm going to let you guys see it, just for the hell of it here. I think it'll draw more people to the beginning of the show here, but, we can't spend a whole lot of time on this because we have got a bunch of stuff to get to. I had 27 tabs last night before I went to bed, and then I found the Katie Hill thing and the Biden team suing the Trump drivers team. And I did some digging just to make sure, because I wanted to make sure that we didn't look at that video wrong, but we're going to watch that video again from that fateful day in October, too. It's going to be all this and more over on Contemporary. But before we get started, head on over and check out my friends over at the Freedom Scoop Media Group. Pardon our dust while our website is finalized here, but while we're doing this, and while we're finishing up, that won't stop you from checking out my great friends, including the Generational Gap. I'm kind of interested to see what John Boy's going to do tonight, by the way, because this will probably be his first news solo show. So it'll be interesting to see. So make sure you head on over there and check that out tonight. That is at, what the hell is that? 7:30? No, they're at 8:30. 8:30 Central Time. So go over there and check them out tonight, and make sure you give John a bunch of support. I know he's a little bit shy sometimes, but he needs it. So head on over there. Also check out my friends, the Daily Ignoramus, who will probably raid given how long the news show is going to be today. So the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, and the Freckles and Brit Show. Head on over there, check out all of my friends, and help us support great creators. All right, let's look at your finance here. And we should probably fly through this because look at all that stuff up there. A lot of video here. The Dow went up to 34,196.82. It jumped up at the top of the market, and then it just stayed fairly flat through the rest of the day. It had another jump and then fairly flat again about midday. So that's what we're seeing coming back up out of here. It is up 322.58 points. That is just shy of 1% up. On your Bitcoin has had another rally day. 35,341 US dollars and 70 US cents. Is what your Bitcoin is looking at here. And that's, of course, great, because just over the weekend, we were down at 29,000. Will we see the 400,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year? I doubt it, but I'm still maybe thinking six figures. Low 100,000s? Maybe. We'll see where it goes. On your fuel. How painful is it at the pump? The Costco in Madison, Sun Prairie rather, is at $2.69. Its base price is $2.73, which means we've had an increase. We still haven't seen a $2.90 yet. That's glass. That's glass. That's wood. Knock on wood. We still haven't seen a $2.90 yet, but it's probably getting there at some point here. That's up in Madison, which means down around here in the normal part of the world that isn't a liberal fucking hellhole, but is also usually more expensive than the liberal hellhole. We might actually see that here coming up over the weekend, so that's something to watch. And I'm telling you right now, if we get up over $3 a gallon, filling that 33-gallon tank is going to get very, very painful very quickly. So, hey, my driving might be done for the season. We'll see what happens with that. Unless, of course, you guys want to buy me a coffee and help throw a little bit of fuel in that tank. The links are in the description. Just $5 helps out every once in a while, you guys. If you could. If you can't, I understand. I've been hurting too. All right, let's head in here and see what the investors have to say from IBD. Dow Jones futures rise as Nike surges. 5 new buys as Biden infrastructure deal fuels stock market rally from Ed Carson. Dow Jones futures rose modestly early Friday, fueled by a soaring Nike stock. S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures advanced slightly after a strong session for the stock market rally. FedEx, Nike were key movers on earnings overnight, while JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and other big financials passed the annual stress tests. The Dow Jones led Thursday's gain as President Biden announced a $1 trillion infrastructure deal with a bipartisan group of senators that lifted the Dow component. Caterpillar, which is probably going to go up anyway because of the infrastructure bill, because, wait, that's exactly what they just said. Yeah, that's your big name in construction. Caterpillar and Volvo are going to be huge. Note, this is not official financial advice. This comes a little bit from knowing the industry and what's going to be moving and shaking while we go through this, but there are some other issues that are going along with some of the equipment too. But Caterpillar and Volvo, they're worth a look. If you want to go talk to your financial advisor, they are definitely worth a look right now and see what he has to say, as well as a variety of infrastructure-related stocks and ETFs, including Martin Marietta Materials and Global X U.S. Infrastructure Development ETF. The S&P 500 definitely cleared its June 14th peak, joining the NASDAQ in a new high ground. Several stocks broke out Thursday, including the chipmakers Lattice Semiconductor and Kaliki and Sofa, as well as Victoria's Secret parent, L Brands, because that woke Victoria's Secret without the angels. Well, I've got a feeling they won't have to be printing as many catalogs, but they'll still be selling as much underwear. So, hey, maybe they cut a cost somewhere by not having the angels in the catalog and having every 14-year-old boy looking for something to beat off to. Meanwhile, Align Technology and MLM stock are offered early entries. Google will delay phasing out internet tracking cookies until mid to late 2023 versus prior plans for early 2022. That reprieve sent digital ad firms soaring with double-digit gains for Trade Desk and Criteo. As for Google parent Alphabet, shares edged up 0.3% to $24.50, but Google stock is in a buy zone just above a $24.3148 flat base entry. Google stock is on the IBD leaderboard, and IBD long-term leaders Align stock is on Swing Trader. We are going to skip this section here because it's right here. It's these three. These four. So we'll skip this section right here and see what's going on with that. Nike earnings crushed views, reversing a year earlier loss. As for fiscal fourth quarter breathe. As fiscal fourth quarter revenue spiked 96% to $12.3 billion. North American sales shot up 141% to $5.4 billion. China sales rose despite calls for boycott there, as well as somewhat tougher year-earlier comparisons. I will not buy Nike for obvious reasons. I know a lot of people love the cap. They love Kaepernick and believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Well, you didn't really sacrifice anything, but regardless of that, and you shouldn't either. The Uyghurs thing, the Kaepernick thing, and I do have a pair of Nike shoes that are in the midst of falling apart right now. But the next time I go out to buy shoes, they're not going to have a swoosh on them. I'm just going to use the ones that I paid good fucking money for before Nike went into its woke bullshit. On the Nike earnings call, the Dow Jones giant forecast sales topping $50 billion in the new fiscal year, above views for roughly $48.5 billion. Nike stock jumped 13% before the open to about $151. That signals a breakout above a $148.05 buy point, surging from the 50-day and 200-day lines. Not 150, 50-day. The athletic apparel giant has ground lower in 2021, lagging the broader stock market rally considerably, but that may be about to change. All right, we talked about FedEx earnings yesterday, bank stress tests. Let's talk about futures. On the futures, Dow futures rose 0.3% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.1%. NASDAQ 100 futures advanced 0.1%. Nike, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs are all Dow Jones and S&P 500 components. Remember that overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. I'm a little surprised the Dow didn't go up more with the infrastructure deal, just given the fact that it's an industrial and all your equipment makers and truck makers are on the Dow. So that's what we're going to see coming back up out of this. Let's see what CNBC has to say, and then we will go and talk infrastructure. And actual infrastructure, not childcare is infrastructure. Healthcare is infrastructure. Education is infrastructure. We won't be talking about any of that. We'll be talking about actual infrastructure. All right, from CNBC. S&P 500 closes at a record. Dow jumps 320 points as Biden reaches infrastructure deal, from Yoon Lee and Hannah Mayo. U.S. stocks jumped to session highs, with the S&P 500 reaching a record Thursday after President Biden declared that the White House has struck an infrastructure deal with a bipartisan group of senators. The S&P 500 rose nearly 0.6% to hit a record closing high of 4266.49, retaking its previous record from June 14th and fully recouping the losses triggered by the Federal Reserve's surprise policy pivot. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added 322.58 points, or about 1%, to 34,196.82, sitting about 2.6% from its all-time high. The NASDAQ Composite jumped 0.7% to reach another record at 14,369.71. The infrastructure deal will include $579 billion in new spending. We're going to talk about this in a new one. The House said Republicans have fought the president's proposal to hike the corporate tax rate to 28% from 21%. A broad group of stocks gained to push the benchmark to new highs. Financials, energy, and communication services were the best performing sectors on Thursday. Tesla added 3.5%, while Caterpillar jumped 2.6%. The blue chip Dow suffered its worst week since October, with a 3.5% loss last week after the Fed heightened inflation expectations and forecast a rate hike as soon as 2023, right after the midterms. Economic comeback plays led to market losses as investors bet on slower growth amid the central bank's hawkish sentiment. The S&P 500 fell 1.9% last week. All right, with that, we're going to get out of this because a lot of this is review from everything we've done for the last week here. And we'll get into the big news. Before we get into that, I want to remind you that this is live chat day. So I've got all your names written down on a nice sheet of paper here from the past week, including Clyde Midia, who hates me and wanted to know if I was left-wing or racist. I've got his name too, and I'll give him a special thank you as well as the end of the week. But I always say thank you to everybody who chats in the live chat at the end of the week on a Friday. So come on in, make sure you get at least one message in if you're just lurking right now, just to say hi, just so I can say your name. Just so I can say your name out loud and say, hey, you rock for watching this program. And if your comment is sufficiently stupid or bigoted, it will raise the intellectual level of this program and thusly will get read on the air. You have your orders. Let's get into the news here. We're going to start today with NPR. NPR, National Progressive Radio, is telling us that we have a deal. And it is a deal with our money because it's not your money, comrade. It is our money. That's what we say over here on NPR, National Progressive Radio. And make sure you give away some of our money to us as well, because the taxpayer money that we get does not hold us up, and we need more. So please give away your money. I mean our money. See that nice big red donate button? Make sure that you get it to us. National Progressive Radio. We have a deal. Biden announces bipartisan infrastructure agreement with senators. This is from Kelsey Snell and Alana Wise. President Biden on Thursday announced a bipartisan infrastructure agreement after meeting with a group of senators from both parties, though he later cautioned it wouldn't be enacted without a separate proposal set to have just Democratic support. We have a deal, Biden said, appearing with a group of Republican and Democrat senators in the White House. Come on, man, we did it. There's our group of bipartisan senators, including Mitt Romney. So this is going to be good. The package focuses on traditional infrastructure investment items such as roads. God, I hate roads. I hate roads. Roads suck. Fuck those roads. No, I'm not going to do the trademarked one that, what the hell was his name? Eric July did. Because that's copyrighted. That's his. Bridges and rail, along with broadband internet access and water systems. The bipartisan framework is the result of weeks of negotiations and is seen as an early step in a broader negotiation over Biden's calls for more than $2 trillion in new spending. That was more of a wish list than an actual spending plan, by the way. This Senate-driven bill is meant to address the traditional infrastructure, leaving Democrats to figure out how to pass other key elements of Biden's plan. Today, come on, man. Today is a huge day for one half of my economic agenda, Biden said later Tuesday during remarks in the White House with his shoes on the wrong feet, noting that Democrats plan to use the Senate reconciliation process to advance measures like universal preschool and 2 free years of community college. I'm getting to work with Congress right away on the other half of my agenda as well. It's not your agenda, it's the people pulling your strings agenda. He adding that the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer were committed to making sure the bipartisan infrastructure package and the reconciliation process moved together. The president made clear that just because he was willing to compromise on the infrastructure deal, it should not signal to Republicans that the Democrats will not move ahead on progressive priorities of their own, and oh boy, they will. But I think they're going to blow their wad on their other budget reconciliation at this one, and that's where they're going to sit. I'm prepared to do whatever needs to get done to move the country forward, man, he said. And referring to the infrastructure package, he said, if this is the only thing that comes to me, I'm not signing it. It's in tandem. And there it is. You pass what I want, man, or I'm passing what you want. And we're just going to sit here. Your terms are acceptable, Mr. President. Biden acknowledged that it's not guaranteed that there will be enough support from Democrats to pass the infrastructure deal, and said he knew that some in his party were unhappy that he'd chosen the bipartisan approach instead of jamming it down the throats of the fucking United States. But he said there are enough things in the framework that the Democratic voters support to make the case that progressive lawmakers should support it too. The full top-line spending number for the bipartisan effort, according to the White House, is $1.2 trillion over 8 years, with nearly $600 billion in new spending. Money printer go brrrr. It is in effect a slimmed-down version of Biden's original infrastructure jobs plan, which had a price tag of more than $2 trillion. In the agreed-upon framework, the new spending includes $109 billion for roads, which I fucking hate, and bridges, $66 billion for rail, $49 billion for public transit, $55 billion for water infrastructure, and $65 billion for broadband. The White House claims it includes the largest federal investment in public transit in U.S. history, the largest federal investment in passenger rail since Amtrak began, and the largest single investment in bridges since the interstate highway system. The White House says the plans will eliminate lead water pipes and upgrade the power grid while also creating millions of American jobs. God, I fucking hate roads. It also includes some elements focused on climate change because why the fuck not? That have been prioritized by Biden, including $15 billion for building a network of electric vehicle chargers and electrifying school and transit buses, plus money for upgrading infrastructure for the impacts of climate change. Why do we have to do that from the top? Now, You go to progressive cities, of course, and there are electric charging stations everywhere. For the little bit that I go to Madison, I actually used to go a lot more because I used to work up there. But if you go to Madison, there are electric charging stations literally everywhere. You can't go 10 fucking feet in Madison without throwing a rock and be able to hit an electric charging station. They're everywhere. Because Madison wants to attract more people who would buy a Tesla, in spite of the fact that you can't buy a Tesla in Wisconsin. But they want to attract more people who would buy a Tesla or a Prius C or something else like that to live in Madison. And that's something we can do on a local level. I don't understand why we need to do this on a big national level. But, I mean, we built the gas station network on a local level, for the most part. Why can't we do this with electric charging stations? And I am definitely curious. This is one thing that I've always wondered, because I've never had an electric vehicle. I've never driven an electric vehicle. I've never had to charge an electric vehicle. I mean, is there a fee for using the charging station? Or is, like, the Hy-Vee in Madison just taking it up the ass in the cost to charge your Tesla? That's something I'm curious about because, I mean, electricity is getting expensive, and it's getting more expensive. I've looked at, I mean, my usage for electricity has actually gone down over the last couple of years in this place because I track it. So my usage has gone down, but my electric bill has gone up. Because it's costing more to make the same amount of electricity. So, I mean, is at the record store or whatever the hell it is that you're at in Madison, the mall in Madison, if you actually go there, are they taking in the ass for that? Or is there a fee for that? Somebody who's driven an electric car, tell me. Because I have no idea. And once again, I am not anti-electric car either, by the way. I want that to be out there. I think electric cars are cool. I don't think we're technologically there yet to have them be the be-all, end-all that they think it's going to be. And I am curious as to what that's going to do for the trucking industry, if it's actually going to be able to hold, or if we might have to have like a diesel generator be a backup for that. But regardless of all of that, I still think electric cars are cool. And maybe one day I will get one. Probably won't be my primary vehicle just because of how cold it gets in this state. And the places I have to drive in this state to go and see my parents and my sister and whatnot. Electric cars don't do very well in that climate, but they're still cool. I think they're awesome. Let's see. The key sticking point has been for how to pay for the measure, with Republicans opposed to undoing any part of their 2017 tax cuts and Biden against raising the gas tax. In the end, it would be paid for with a mix of increased tax enforcement, unused unemployment insurance, unused coronavirus relief funds, state and local funds for broadband, sales from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and several other measures. Biden, in his Thursday afternoon remarks, said that the package would be funded without raising a cent, man, on taxpayers making less than $400,000 a year. That's that fucking myth right there. He said it would not call for an increased gas tax or fees on electric vehicles. So, a lot of stuff going on here, but it does look like this is going to focus on what's actually infrastructure. I think we defeated, and by we, I mean people like Mitt Romney, God help us all, defeated the monstrosity of Biden's wish list. I think that actually got defeated at some point, which I think is cool. And we will see what goes on with that. Let's grab one from Fox Business for you. What's in the bipartisan infrastructure deal reached by Biden and senators? Here's a breakdown of how the money in the bipartisan bill would be allocated. This is from Megan Henney. President Biden on Thursday declared that he and a bipartisan group of senators reached a deal for the $1.2 trillion infrastructure package, a breakthrough agreement that comes after weeks of arduous negotiations. The agreement includes more than $500 billion in new spending that will be invested in core infrastructure projects, such as roads, broadband, internet, and electric utilities over the next 8 years. Come on, man, we have a deal, Biden said outside the White House, standing next to a group of Republicans and Democrats who helped craft the framework. I think it's really important that we've all agreed that none of us got all that we wanted. They don't let me just run the country like a dictator. Ancient old fucking prick. Still, the compromise is just the beginning of what's likely to become a long and difficult path to passage. Biden pleaded to not sign any legislation until it comes in tandem with a multi-trillion-dollar reconciliation package that focuses on Democratic priorities such as child and elder care, climate change, and health care. Wouldn't it be hilarious if this still stopped Washington, D.C.? Just stopped it. He pocket vetoed the thing, and we just have 2 years of fucking failure. All right, let's see what we have in here. $312 billion for transportation, roads, bridges, and major projects, $109 billion, safety, $11 billion, public transit, $49 billion, passenger and freight rail, $66 billion, electric vehicles, $7.5 billion, electric buses and transit, $7.5 billion, reconnecting communities, $1 billion, airports, $25 billion, ports and waterways, $16 billion, and infrastructure financing, $20 billion. So the interest rate on what we're borrowing here is $20 billion in and of itself. Other infrastructure, $266 billion. Water, $55 billion. Broadband, $65 billion. Environmental remediation, $21 billion. Power, including grid authority, $73 billion. Western water storage, $5 billion. Resilience, $47 billion. So, I mean, without actually looking and reading the breakdown of this, just looking at this little top-level thing that Fox Business put out, I mean, it does look like this is officially all infrastructure. I mean, no childcare, no education, none of the rest of the stuff that they were trying to cram in to make this the big progressive wish list. And there's still a chance that this goes nowhere. The old man's going to try to play hardball. And we're going to see what happens with that. So we'll see where that goes. But that's where your money's going to go. Excuse me. I smoked over last weekend, and it's catching back up with me. I can feel it down here. All right, let's grab one archived from Reuters here. Democrats' two-step infrastructure plan draws Republican ire from David Morgan, Richard Cohen, and Andrea Shalal. Hours after President Biden declared, "We have a deal, man," to renew the infrastructure of the U.S., the Senate's top Republicans lashed out at plans to follow the $1.2 trillion bipartisan bill with another measure, funding what Democrats call human infrastructure. Biden and the top congressional Democrats, House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer, have long signaled their plan to link the bipartisan deal with another bill including spending on home and health care and child care. The second measure would be passed through a Senate maneuver called reconciliation, which would allow it to take effect without Republican votes. Biden told reporters at the White House that he expected quick action on both measures or neither would survive. So I'm actually a little bit curious as to how they're going to do this. Now, they're sitting here hoping that they'll have the 60 votes to do the infrastructure plan, which I don't know if they're actually going to have, and then they're going to blow their wad. Human infrastructure on the second one for the budget reconciliation. But what happens if the first one can't pass? Or what happens if the House tries to throw a lot of pork in it? Because that's still got to get past the House, keep in mind. And then it comes back to the Senate after it was amended and still can't get passed. If it was me, I would say the hell with the other one. Focus your efforts on trying to get the House and Senate back. Well, keep the House and then get the Senate on a split more in your favor coming up in 2022, which good fucking luck with that. And then do your human infrastructure then. Take the L because you can't do it. But, I mean, you're not going to get both of these bills through budget reconciliation. It's just not going to happen. And you only get one more of these in this particular Congress. Biden told reporters at the White House that he expected quick action on both measures or neither would survive. I expect, man, in the coming months this summer, before the fiscal year is over, that we will have voted on this bipartisan bill, the infrastructure bill, as well as voted on budget resolution, he said. But only if it comes to me. I'm not signing it. It's in tandem. That drew a harsh response from Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Turtle Man. Less than 2 hours after publicly commending our colleagues and actually endorsing the bipartisan agreement, the president took the extraordinary step of threatening to veto it. McConnell said on the Senate floor, "It almost makes your head spin." McConnell, Pelosi, and Schumer have not been directly involved with the bipartisan infrastructure talks. McConnell has not publicly stated if he would back the initiative, though he called it encouraging on his floor remarks. Lindsey Graham, one of the 21 senators who had negotiated the bipartisan deal, said in a tweet, "If reports are accurate that President Biden is refusing to sign a bipartisan deal unless reconciliation is also passed, that would be the ultimate deal breaker for me." Progressive members of Congress, some of whom were pushing for a sweeping $6 trillion bill, had indicated they would not support the smaller bipartisan bill without a companion measure. The $1.2 trillion framework includes 570. We know all this because we read this from Fox Business. But yeah, that's interesting. The fact that it's, come on, man, we run and we've got a deal here, but I'm going to veto it unless you give me everything that we couldn't put in here. And it's a great bipartisan deal, but I'm still going to veto it unless you give me what I want. And I'm going to get this bill no matter what, man. Come on, man, or I'm going to send Corn Pop in there. And he's going to use that straight razor after I use it on my hairy legs, man. That turn blonde in the sun. And that's where we sit. All right, let's grab one from the Hill. McConnell slams Biden for already caving to the left on infrastructure deal, from Alexander Bolton. Senate Minority Leader Turtle Man on Thursday afternoon slammed President Biden for caving to his left flank after the president endorsed a bipartisan $579 billion five-year infrastructure framework and then threatened to veto it if it's not accompanied by a much larger reconciliation package. Yeah, we know all this one already. I thought this was going to be different from the Reuters one. Yeah, all the new stuff here. That'll save us a little bit of time here because we still had a ton of stuff to get to. Let's see. I think at this point we're going to shift gears. We'll move off of this and we will talk about Rudolph W. Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani has New York law license suspended for election falsehoods. You know, I've been thinking about this for a second. I know that the already conservative has talked a little bit about George Carlin in recent weeks, who was a great, honestly, he was a comedian, but he was a great political analyst too, especially when he came to the conclusion that it's a big club and you're not in it. When he came to that, but I remember the September 11th show. Was it Back in Town was the one that came out after September 11th? Or was it Grievances and Complaints? I think it was Grievances and Complaints, actually. Because Back in Town, I think, came out in 97. So, yeah, it was in Complaints and Grievances, where it happened right after September 11th. And, Carlin had to go out and give his big plan for how to deal with the terroristic threat at the time. But I remember him saying, and this was back before, Carlin was a classical liberal. He wasn't like the progressive socialist that we have today. He was a classical liberal, but his big idea for what to do on the domestic side is to go tell, Colin Powell and all these fuckers to go away and nice job, good try. And it's inside of the entire domestic side, the entire domestic thing for terrorism and terrorism hunting on the domestic side to put Rudolph Giuliani, an Italian from Brooklyn. And I would hate to see how he feels about what Rudy Giuliani has become in the past 20 years. Because that was 20 years ago already. But let's see what's happening here. Rudy Giuliani has New York law license suspended for election falsehoods. From Melissa Quinn. A New York court said Thursday that Rudy Giuliani is suspended from practicing law in the state after it found he spread false information about the 2020 presidential election while serving as lawyer for former President Trump and the Trump campaign, which immediately threatens the public interest. The appeals court in New York said in its order that there is uncontroverted evidence that Giuliani communicated demonstrably false and misleading statements to courts, lawmakers, and the public at large in the course of his efforts to overturn Mr. Trump's loss in the 2020 presidential election. The seriousness of the respondent's uncontroverted misconduct cannot be overstated. The court said in the 33-page decision, this country is being torn apart by continued attacks on the legitimacy of the 2020 election. That was completely above board and nothing bad happened. Biden is the most popular president in history, far surpassing even Barack Obama, honk honk. And of our current president and Lord and great glorious Messiah, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., the hallmark of our democracy is predicated on free and fair elections, especially the 2020 election, which was the freest and fairest election in history. Honk honk. False statements intended to foment a loss of confidence in our elections and resulting loss of confidence in government generally damaged the proper functioning of a free society. Honk. Honk honk. The court went on to warn that when such falsehoods are made by an attorney, it erodes the public's confidence in the integrity of attorneys admitted to our bar and damages the profession's role as a crucial source of reliable information. All right. So here's the deal on this. Now, honestly, I probably would have given Giuliani the same fate at this point. He's kind of a nut at this point. He's kind of off his rocker. He's old. He was a great mayor. He was a great lawyer at one point, but he is getting up there. He seems to be having the Bidenitis, and he had all kinds of stupid shit happen to him. And Sidney Powell is completely off her rocker. Now, this, of course, having nothing to do with the freest and most fairest election in U.S. history, and Biden getting more votes than even Barack Obama and being the most famous and most popular president who ever lived. Honk 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 honk. But in a simulation somewhere, if there was to be some sort of election fraud, which there wasn't, 2020 was the freest and safest and most fair election in history. But in a simulation for whatever, if there was some sort of fraud, this would be something. And this is a political. This would be. This isn't. This would be a political witch hunt at some point. Now, there was plenty of reason to say that Giuliani should not be practicing law anymore. None of it has to do with the claims that he's making, as long as they're in a simulation, because there was no election fraud anywhere on any of this. Don't ban me, Susan, bro. Because he was acting like a fucking nut. And the same thing with Powell. And I'm sorry, if my skin was orange and I had a bad comb over and lived in Mar-a-Lago, I would have fired these two on November 5th. Because it was a clown show. That's all that it was. With the hair running down, the hair dye running down, and Sidney Powell releasing the Kraken and all this fucking bullshit. Those two would have been fucking gone like that. But the fact that they're tying this to the completely safe and secure 2020 election that had nothing bad happen, honk, 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 tells me that this is more of a political thing. This is more of an elimination of political enemies, which we used to not do in this country. That was tin pot shit. But now it is. I mean, if you ever supported the evil orange man, then you have no place in decent society anymore. All right, but that's what we see coming back up out of this. Let's grab a follow-up to that one here from CNBC. Rudy Giuliani skips Dominion, Powell, MyPillow, Lindell defamation case hearing after his law license gets revoked in New York. Well, yeah, he's kind of castrated at that point. He can't fucking do anything about it. He can't practice law. He can't defend him. Why the fuck would he go? If it was me and I was as old as Rudy Giuliani, who is 77 years old, and I had no law license, I would sit down in my easy chair and let the cat sit in my lap and watch The Price is Right. from Kevin Bräuninger. Rudy Giuliani did not show up for a court hearing on Thursday in a $1.3 billion defamation case against him that took place hours after his New York law license was suspended due to his alleged false and misleading claims about the 2020 election. All the other major figures involved in the hearing, MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, lawyer Sidney Powell, Dominion Voting Systems chief John Paulos, and even famed attorney Alan Dershowitz, were in attendance either in person or by phone. But Joseph Sibley, Giuliani's lawyer in the case, told the federal judge in Washington that the only person there representing Giuliani is bid to have his defamation suit dismissed. It's just me, Sibley said at the start of the hearing. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's just a hearing. Unless he has to testify, which it doesn't look like he's going to, why the fuck would he go? Earlier on Thursday, the New York State Appellate Court suspended Giuliani, the 77-year-old former mayor of New York City and one-time U.S. attorney for Manhattan, from practicing law in the Empire State. In their searing order, a panel of 5 judges cited Giuliani's demonstrably false and misleading statements about the fraud that absolutely never happened in the 2020 election, honk honk, made in his capacity as former President Trump's lawyer, and with the intention of bolstering baseless narrative that the 2020 election was stolen due to widespread fraud, except it was the safest and most secure election in history. Honk. 2016, that was totally stolen, though. The temporary suspension came a day before Giuliani's 52nd anniversary as a licensed lawyer in New York. It will stay in place pending the outcome of a formal disciplinary hearing. Well, he's got a chance to go back and defend himself, but I mean, I don't know if I would do that. Really, honestly. Just retire, dude. You had a grand career. You had one of the greatest careers. I mean, you cleaned up New York City. You brought it together after September 11th. You were a great mayor. You will go down in history as one of the greats. Ease back, hang out, crack a beer, pet the cat, and call it a day. That's what I would do if I was Giuliani. All right, let's grab one from ABC. Pelosi announces select committee to investigate the January 6th assault on the Capitol. From Mariam Khan, we're not letting this one go. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced Thursday the House of Representatives will create a select committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol after Republicans blocked a bipartisan proposal for an independent bipartisan commission. This morning, with great solemnity and sadness, I'm announcing that the House will be establishing a select committee on the January 6th insurrection, Pelosi announced at her weekly news conference, and it was immediately followed. As soon as she was done saying that, sorry, I'm trying to do filler words here. She said that and then went, a temple of our democracy was a, oh my fucking God. It's not a cult, people. It's not a cult. A temple of our democracy was attacked by insurrectionists, she said. It is imperative that we seek the truth as to what happened. She said, the Select Committee is about our democracy, about ensuring that the Capitol Dome remain a symbol of freedom. A symbol of freedom by not allowing any of the people into the house that their taxpayer dollars paid for. A symbol of freedom that was surrounded by fencing and razor wire. And I believe still is. A symbol of freedom that had to be defended by National Guard troops for 4 months. A symbol of freedom with metal detectors going into the chamber. Yes, that symbol of freedom. January 6th was one of the darkest days in our nation's history. It is imperative that we establish the truth of that day and ensure that an attack of that kind cannot happen, and that we root out the causes of it all, the Select Committee will investigate the report on the facts and the causes of the attack and make report recommendations for the prevention of any future attack, Pelosi said. Yeah, they're going to keep doing it. They can't stop. Their religion was attacked, but it's not a cult. All right, let's do a little bit of Florida stuff here. Florida man. Starting here with researcher, high-rise that collapsed was sinking due for recertification. This is from News 4 of Jacksonville. The 12-story beachfront condo tower in Miami-Dade that collapsed early Tuesday morning was built in 1981 on reclaimed wetlands, and a Florida International University researcher told USA Today that the building has been sinking at an alarming rate. The building had 136 units, 55 units of which were in the two wings that collapsed. I looked at this morning and said, oh my God, we did detect that. Shimon Wood-Dawinski, professor at the Department of Earth and Environment at Florida International University, told the newspaper. Wood-Dawinski said his research in the building was sinking at a rate of 2 millimeters a year in the 1990s, and that the sinking could have slowed or accelerated in the time since. The study was not done for the purpose of determining the soundness of the building, but as a part of an ongoing project to identify which parts of Miami could be most impacted by sea level rise and coastal flooding. The sea level. Well, the sea level's rising. Okay, and because it's rising, I'm going to spend my money on acres and acres on Martha's Vineyard. In spite of the fact I spent my entire presidency, I'm saying that Martha's Vineyard could be gone in 5 years because climate change is real. Okay. It was a byproduct of analyzing the data. We saw this building as some kind of unusual movement, he told the newspaper. The I-team also learned the Condo Association was in contact with engineers and architects preparing to complete its 40-year building recertification, which is required by Miami-Dade to ensure that buildings remain structurally safe. Work to re-roof the building began in April and was ongoing. There was work on the building being done to meet the 40-year standard. The Miami-Dade County Commission member Sally Heyman said that is something that has been put in place not just for the county, but for all municipalities. We have a strict building code since Hurricane Andrew for updates and improvements. So a lot of stuff going on here, but it does look like this probably, I know a lot of people are coming out and saying terrorism, and one of those including Becca Lee over on Twitter. You can go give her a follow, but Disclosed TV says newly released CCTV footage shows the moment the Champlain Tower South Condo collapsed in Surfside early this morning. Becca Lee says, does anybody believe this building just collapsed by itself on one side? Well, kind of. I mean, if one side is sinking faster than the other, that stress is going to put structural integrity stress on one side of the building. And if it just shears off, then the rest of it goes. But let's go ahead and watch the video. There's just a few seconds of it, 26 seconds of it. So there it goes. It's down. I don't know. One of the things that I've speculated about, and we were talking about this over on the Discord. By the way, if you guys aren't in the Discord, get in the Discord. The Discord is cool. And I've been doing more talking in there, especially, while I'm putting my stock away at work. I go in there and I just talk to you guys, and we have these conversations. And, I do think that this was natural at this point. Just looking at what happened here, I think this was a point where we look back at this and said, we're going to look back at this and say, okay, well, this was just piss poor engineering. Somebody didn't catch it in time, or somebody didn't do the right thing with this, and this collapsed because the engineering sucked. But I've got this feeling, especially with the popularity that certain Mr. DeSantis is gaining among the MAGA religious fanatics of themselves, I got a feeling maybe in a couple weeks we're going to be hearing, what did DeSantis know? DeSantis hid information and he killed people. What could DeSantis have possibly done to stop this? It was all DeSantis' fault. Don't you see? He literally went out there and sawed out the piles with a hacksaw and made the building fall in and on itself. As far as I know, it is still one dead. Let's see. What else do we have here? A little one here from the Blaze we're going to go over briefly because we just watched the video that's supposed to be in here. Stunning video captures the moment Florida condo building collapses. We are bracing for some bad news. This is from Sarah Taylor. Stunning video captured the moment a 12-story condo in Surfside, Florida partially collapsed during the early hours of Thursday morning. The disaster thus far has claimed the life of one person, but authorities say at least 51 other people are unaccounted for, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says the state is bracing for some bad news, according to a report from the BBC. More than 80 rescue teams are reportedly responded to the scene at Champlain Towers South early Thursday morning in hopes of rescuing any potential victims. In a video obtained by local Florida media outlets, the building can be seen appearing to collapse from the top down, beginning near the center of the building and working outwards towards the right. DeSantis said he would soon be visiting the area. See, he hasn't visited yet. Look, and they're blaming Kamala for not visiting the border. We're bracing for some bad news, just given the destruction that we've seen, he warned. Witness Kimberly Morales, a woman who lives across the street, told local media she awoke to the sound of alarms and rushed to wake everybody up. Other eyewitnesses said they saw a huge cloud of dust. We have friends who have family that live in that building, one eyewitness said. We don't even know if they're okay. The cause of the collapse remains unknown at the time of the reporting, and CNN reported that approximately 55 units in the northwest corridor of the building were impacted by the collapse. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue have set up a family reunification center and encourages anyone seeking loved ones to call 305-614-1819. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue is also requesting residents of the building to fill out a wellness check form. And yeah, we watched that video. So, yeah, I do hope that everybody does get picked up and everyone gets to go home to their family. But, we lost one person and that was a lot of rubble to fall down too. So I'm hoping for the best, and I said that yesterday too. I am very much hoping for the best. I do hope this comes out to the best for as many families as humanly possible. And that's what we'll see from that. This one. Biden campaign workers and ex-state lawmakers sue Trump train members involved in dangerous Texas highway incident. From Natasha Bertrand. A White House staffer and former Texas state rep are among those suing several participants of a Trump train that allegedly harassed the Biden campaign bus last October in Texas, claiming a lawsuit filed on Thursday that the Trump supporters engaged in coordinated illegal political intimidation in violation of the Ku Klux Klan Act. There it is, and anything they can do to tie racism onto this. The complaint was filed on behalf of the White House staffer, David Gins, former Texas State Senator Wendy Davis, former Biden campaign volunteer Eric Cervini, and the driver of the Biden campaign bus, Timothy Holloway. The plaintiffs wrote in their complaint, filed in the Western District of Texas, that on October 30th, the Trump supporters terrorized and menaced the driver and passengers on the Biden-Harris campaign bus for at least 90 minutes, forcing the bus to slow to a crawl on a major highway while swerving in front of the bus to block its path. They played a madcap game of highway chicken, coming within 3 to 4 inches of the bus, the lawsuit alleges. They tried to run the bus off the road, referring to the defendants. The complaint alleges that the defendants, named Eleazar Cisneros Hannah, Joey Lynn Massaros, Robert Massaros, Dolores Park, and Jane and John Doe, conspired beforehand to surround and block the bus in violation of the Ku Klux Klan Act, passed by Congress in 1871 to prohibit the obstruction of free and fair elections and coordinated intimidation of voters. As a result of their actions, they claimed the campaign was forced to cancel its stops in San Marcos and Austin out of fear of their safety. CNN has reached out to the defendants in the suit. None of them has been criminally charged in the incident. That's because there's no criminal charge to have. And we'll go over that in just a second, because we've got some video of what happened that day. According to the complaint, Gins, Davis, and Holloway were on the bus at the same time, and Cervini was in his own car escorting them. Biden and Harris were not on the bus that day. The complaint also draws a line between the events of that day and the January 6th Capitol Selfie Fest. The complaint notes that some of the individuals who were involved in planning the Trump train incident on October 30th were also in Washington on the day of the deadly Selfie Fest. The complaint also notes members of the new Braunfels Trump train were identified in a media report and on social media as having taken part in the January 6, 2021 Selfie Fest. It's not the first time the Klan Act has been invoked this year in connection with the acts carried out by Trump supporters before and after the election because anybody who wears a red hat, that's the new white hood. Fucking spare me, you fucking cocksmokers. Democratic Rep. Benny Thompson of Mississippi, chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, filed a lawsuit against Trump in February, accusing him of inciting the January 6th Selfie Fest and violating a provision of the Ku Klux Klan Act that prohibits political violence and intimidation that could impede federal officers from performing their constitutional duties. Jason Miller, a spokesman for Trump and the former president, did not incite or work to incite the riots at the Capitol. Because he didn't. And this is the part that I want to get into a little bit on this. And then I've got this one here, one video that we'll watch, and then this one here that will actually specifically implicate somebody who otherwise probably would have had a nice big fat fucking countersuit against him. So, I wanted to touch on this one. So, the FBI had opened an investigation after footage of the highway confrontation filmed by onlookers and the Trump train members themselves emerged on social media. An official familiar with the matter said the incident remains under investigation. The same plaintiffs are suing San Marcos, Texas law enforcement officials, and employees in a separate lawsuit alleging that they violated another section of the Klan Act by failing to prevent or respond to the harassment. Anything to tie a Trump supporter to the Klan that they will fucking take. Anything at all. This is just opportunistic fucking grifting. Due to pending litigation, the city of San Marcos, the San Marcos Police Department, and Director of Public Safety, Chase Stapp, will not have a comment, said Christy Stark, Communications Director for the city of San Marcos. Davis, who at the time was serving as the Biden campaign surrogate, filmed the incident from inside the bus, and yet we've never seen it. That's the part that lights off big red fucking warning alarms in my head. Everything that we could possibly see gets leaked out to the public. Everything possible out there gets leaked to the public because, oh, look at these evil Trump supporters and what they're doing. Look at this. But we don't see the brake checking and the swerving towards the bus or anything else like that. We do see a swerve, and we'll go over that in just a second. But we don't see any of what's being alleged. And in today's leaky internet, I don't believe that. I don't. Now, when I see the video, I'll believe it. And really, honestly, if you're brake checking a bus, you're fucking stupid. That's a good way to get your nice, shiny new vehicle totaled. And I don't care who's on the bus either, by the way. If you're brake checking a bus, you deserve to be sued. I have no tolerance for that kind of intimidation. But we'll talk about that when we see the video in just a second. The previously unseen footage, which was provided exclusively to CNN, surprise, surprise, shows several vehicles with Trump flags surrounding the Biden campaign bus, cutting in front of it, and abruptly braking to slow the bus down as it traveled from San Antonio to Austin for a campaign event. Davis's recording also shows one truck with Trump flags, allegedly driven by Cisneros, sideswiping a campaign staffer's SUV as they accompanied the bus That was me slamming that fucker. Hell yeah, Cisneros later posted on Facebook. That's the point I want to get to right here. Because this guy, this fucking idiot deserves exactly what he had coming to him. This idiot could have kept his mouth shut and had a nice fat countersuit. Because the video does not lie. But this idiot, yeah, hell yeah, I sideswiped that fucker. Okay, good. Now you can go sit in a court of law and get fucking sued over it. Because you couldn't keep your stupid fucking mouth shut. Let's watch the video, just to review. This is the video that they're trying to say the San Marcos Police Department did nothing about this. The San Marcos Police Department did nothing. And we'll see if we can see something that they need to come in and stop for in this, other than just driving along the same highway. Okay, I didn't listen to the audio of this video. I also find it quite hilarious that this event is going on and he's listening to Eye of the Tiger at the same time. I watched this just video only without my headphones on, but this is the first time I've got the audio accompaniment to go with it. And we're not monetized on YouTube for this one, because they're going to ding me for that.
Okay, folks, there's this Trump train, hundreds of them, holding up on the 35, and they're all following this Biden-Harris bus. Funniest thing I've ever seen, man. They're like chasing him. This is in New Braunfels right now. And they're like,
that's, by the way, the SUV in question too, so we'll talk about that in a second.
Literally escorting him out of town on the Trump
yeah, I mean, looking at this here, we'll back up just do you see any brake checking? Do you see any swerving into the bus? What was this guy supposed to do other than just stop every single one of these vehicles, hundreds of vehicles, by himself?
Like chasing him. This is in New Braunfels right now, and they're like, they got, look at this, they're like literally escorting him out of town on the Trump flags. Oh my god.
I don't see any traffic violations after this, thus far, other than driving with a Trump flag on your vehicle, which I'm sure that a lot of people on the left think should be illegal. I mean, what is this guy supposed to do?
Town on the Trump flags. Oh my god, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. They're like hundreds of them. They're escorting him out. Look at this, they're in front with a Trump train.
It does look like there might be some sort of incident here, and you guys can see my cursor there. There might be some sort of possible incident or close contact here. Maybe. That's a stretch. Because of the vantage point, it's questionable. Other than that, I don't see any reason to stop anybody. From the vantage point of this particular officer, I don't see any reason to stop anybody. But this is where I want to get to. So CNN Politics puts out the tweet, Biden campaign workers and ex-state lawmakers sue Trump train members involved in dangerous highway incident. 2+2+4 tinfoil hat says that bus was all over the road. To begin with, the staffer in the white vehicle that was following the bus tried to run the trucks off the road. Everyone knew her as Nancy. Says, check the films. I think you'll find that you're wrong. The video has been cut to push the view that the Trump trucks were the villains. Please. Let's watch the video here. This is immediately before the famous hit.
Hello everyone, welcome to Trump Train Tug of War. We've got Trump pickup truck versus Biden white SUV. The SUV starts off with the hazard lights, comes in for a swerve. Hazard lights on to show he's being a bit of a hazard at the moment. Trump truck seems to be in its lane at the moment. White SUV still in two lanes. It seems to be trying to squeeze in.
Yeah, I mean, the black truck never left its lane from any video that I've seen. Now, if there's another video from before that, show me. I want to see it.
Hello everyone, welcome to Trump Train Tug of War. We've got Trump pickup truck versus Biden white SUV. The SUV starts off with the hazard lights, comes in for a swerve.
I mean, it's hard to see. It's a small image, I know, and I can't blow it up because otherwise YouTube will ding me for rebroadcasting YouTube. No, go away. But I mean, you can see there, just in this small frame here, the white SUV is in the right-hand lane. This is clear. This is not a question. And of course, everyone knew her as Nancy says, "Are you nuts? The black truck is moving over, crowding the white SUV, so it moves too." Then the truck hits the SUV. Let's back this up here and see. So this is closer, and yeah, that's... Okay, so he's over in the other lane. The Biden bus, too, by the way, is driving in 2 lanes. I just noticed there. But yeah, right there. Go the fuck away. That SUV is in a lane that it's not supposed to be in, moving in towards that truck. Yeah, what do we have going on here? Why the fuck is the Biden bus driving in 2 lanes? There's nobody alongside that Biden bus, forcing it to drive in 2 lanes. There is nobody there forcing him to drive in 2 lanes. Why the hell is he driving in 2 lanes? But this guy, the guy in the pickup truck, had to be the big fucking tough guy. Yeah, I just jumped out and I hit that white SUV and look at me. Yeah, he deserves whatever he fucking gets. The video evidence doesn't lie. The guy admitted to the fact that he hit it. You deserve whatever you get at that point. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. You could have kept your mouth shut and had a nice fat countersuit, but you chose the idiot route. So, I guess I want to see what this other video is that they have released to CNN, but surprise, surprise, it hasn't been out anywhere else. All right, from Fox News. Biden's bizarre behavior at press conference causes Creepy Joe to trend on Twitter. From Lindsay Cornick. And we've got some video of that one too. President Biden trended on Twitter for what many are calling a creepy interaction with the press during a press conference on Thursday. Biden held a press conference at the White House to share his thoughts on the announcement that a bipartisan group of senators came to a tentative deal on an infrastructure bill. Throughout the press conference, they behaved in a bizarre manner, repeatedly leaning over the podium and answered reporters' questions in a whisper. Town Hall posted on Twitter a compilation of video at the Biden press conference where he leaned in to whisper responses to the press that caused the hashtag CreepyJoe to trend on Twitter, with a few lawmakers like Republican Reps Andy Biggs and Claudia Tenney to comment on how creepy the president was being.
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential. I wrote the bill on the environment. Pay them more. This is an employees bargaining chip now. What's happening?
What's happening is a question that I actually have for this one too. I'm not going to lie. Andy Biggs says Creepy Joe's just took on a new meaning. Is this the same video? Yeah, it's the same video. Creepy as all get out, says Eric Schmidt.
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential this week.
Most popular president in U.S. history. More votes than even Barack Obama. Right there, you guys. Right there. The Daily Wire follows up on this, saying, watch, Kamala Harris appears to have to remind Joe to talk about Florida building collapse. From Daily Wire News. Vice President Kamala Harris appeared to have to remind President Biden to talk about the tragedy that happened in Miami, Florida on Thursday morning when a condo partially collapsed. Video? Long video? Long video. We're not watching it. Not for an hour and 51 minutes, we're not watching it. So again, if it turns out what I've done so far, what we've done so far is a mistake, it's going to show, Biden said towards the end of his press conference on Thursday afternoon. It's going to show, man. Come on. The economy is not going to grow like that, like it wasn't before. People aren't going to have jobs with increased pay like it was before. People aren't going to be out of work like it was before with no options. Unemployment is going to continue to climb instead of continue to go down. If that happens, man, my policies didn't make a lot of sense, and I'm counting on it not. I'm counting on how it's working. Well, your policies don't make a lot of sense, but that's another story for another video. I've got a helicopter, Biden concluded. Thank you. At that moment, Harris is seen approaching Biden before he leaves the podium and telling him something. At one point, it appears, though she says the word Florida. As Harris made the remarks to Biden, reporters shouted, Mr. President, how much do you love Jill? Oh, actually, no, they actually asked him a real question. Will you travel to Florida, sir? And can we ask you about Florida? What have you learned and whatever? Oh, yes, man, I apologize, Biden said. Yes, thank you. I've spoken coincidentally with the mayor of Miami-Dade, who was in my office yesterday. Really? He should have been down at the site doing whatever he could. If he was in Washington, that's also another problem. And I talked to her today. Not about that, obviously. So I had a long discussion with her today. I've also spoken with, I've been in contact with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who has that district, and we've gotten in touch with FEMA, man, and they're ready to go, Biden continued. The governor isn't going to have to, we can't, they're down inspecting in what they think is needed, but I'm waiting for the governor to ask for, declare an emergency, and especially as we learn about the rest of, come on, man, might happen with the rest of the building. Yeah, that's our president. That's the person who has the nuclear codes, right there. But that's where we go. And I've got video clips. All right, Matthew Whitlock, I think this is the one we already watched, tweets out, this is nuts.
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential. I wrote the bill on the environment. Pay them more. This is an employees bargaining chip now. What's happening?
What is happening indeed? This is a different press conference, but this is another one here. Autumn Fox over on Twitter, who is also a great follow, probably one of the better ones there. She also joined the Clubhouse last Monday. And after the Red Net Show on Mondays too, we go on to Clubhouse and talk a little bit more about some of the news. So recommend you guys coming and hanging out there, especially if you have Clubhouse. And if you don't have Clubhouse, ask somebody who has Clubhouse to help you out. Does Joe Biden think all Latino Americans are illegal aliens or something? Yes. Except unless there's a clean, articulate one that speaks well and is well dressed. Let's have a listen to this one.
For people, there's a reason why it's been harder to get African Americans initially to get vaccinated, because they used to being experimented on. The Tuskegee Airmen and others. People have memories. People have long memories. It's awful hard as well to get Latinx vaccinated as well. Why? They're worried that they'll be vaccinated and deported. So look, from day one, something the governor...
So they're worried about being deported even if they're here on their own. And that's why it's hard to get Latin people vaccinated.
Cooper has been totally focused on is making sure we get as many people vaccinated, particularly people who don't have access to health care usually, who don't have ordinary for people. There's a
So, yeah. That's probably kind of racist. All right, and the last one here, Jared Rabel tweets out, this tyrant helped rig the economy in favor of big business and has the gall to tell a small business and medium business to just pay more. Why don't you bail out Main Street like you did Wall Street? Fucking crony puppet. In fact, I've got to reply to this. Just a second. All right, let's watch the video. Asked about nationwide workforce shortages, President Biden whispers, pay them more.
I'm not being critical of you all. I really mean this. It was legitimate questions you're asking me. Asking me, well, guess what? Employers can't find workers. I said, yeah, pay them more. I'm not being critical of you all. I really mean
This is the guy that has the nuclear codes. This, well, I don't know. I really don't. I'm quite disturbed by this. Can somebody give me a reason not to be disturbed by any of this? By the fact that this goes on like this? The fact that this guy is allowed to be the commander-in-chief? I don't know. All right, let's grab some more here. We're over the halfway point. So let's finish out some of the rest of this stuff here, and then we'll do live chat. From the Daily Wire, Democrat hammers Harris for spot that she chose to visit on the border. Harris denies GOP pressure led to the trip. Yeah, that's still happening today. From Ryan Saavedra. Do we have video? We have video, too. But let's lead up to this first. Democrat Vice President Kamala received criticism for her own party this week over the spot that she'll be visiting on Friday on the U.S.-Mexico border, with one Democrat lawmaker calling it a politically safe trip. Harris was called out earlier this week by Republicans for selecting to visit El Paso as opposed to the Rio Grande Valley sector, which is more than 1,000 miles away and is part of the border that has been hit the hardest by Biden's border crisis. Why would Harris choose to visit El Paso over other areas of the border like RGV or Arizona? A Washington Post reporter wrote on Twitter. In El Paso, she can be hosted by Representative Verana Escobar, who's been reliably supported in RGV, Laredo, Arizona. Dem lawmakers have been critical of Biden admin and want more enforcement. Representative Henry Cuellar of Texas, whose district is the Rio Grande Valley sector, told Fox News this week that Harris's trip was a politically safe trip. I have no idea, Queller said when asked why the Biden admin was waited so long to visit the border, but I'm sure her planners told her that if you're going down to the border, to go to something that's safer, to go to that's politically safer. If you want to go to the lower Rio Grande Valley with the high activity, you're there with kids and families, prosecutorial discretion, where people are being released, high numbers of people crossing the border. Politically, it's harder to do that. I know that. I mean, that's part of my district, but you got to go do what you got to do, Queller said. You just can't, just go to one place. But she does do the check the box and go to the border by going to El Paso. And yeah, listen to Sticks yesterday, which I listen to Sticks every day. But he brought up a good point too. I mean, the big part, the hard hit part down in Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, that's the part that's hit the hardest. That's got the kids with 600% capacity in there. And that is going to be politically suicide for Kamala Harris, because it will show that the border crisis has gotten out of control. There's nothing that they can do about it except for sit back and try to actually let everybody in, or have a hardball approach and not let people even approach the border. Or maybe even build a wall. But if she goes to El Paso, you probably got a much lighter border facility, if there even is one at all. You've got a few people sitting in there, the bright, the brushed, and the happy families in there. You go in there and you say, see, look, there's one person here per holding center. This is a nice, bright, cheery daycare center-like place, because there are a lot of these border facilities that are more like a daycare center than the kids in cages in the Rio Grande Valley. We talked about this during the Trump administration. This is not in every border facility situation. It's just the ones that are the hardest hit right now. And she can come out there, she can take a nice, cute selfie with a pre-selected family with the cutest kid possible. Get that kid all cleaned up. She can go out there and grab the phone and, oh, look how well this border crisis is going. And then be back on her way and say, look, see, everything's under control. And the captive media will eat it all up and tell her how great she is. Let's have a listen to what is being said on Fox News, though, with Texas Democrat Queller.
I don't know what she's going to see there, and you paint a pretty vivid picture for perhaps a trip that may not show her much. Why do you think this administration has waited so long for this?
I have no idea, but I'm sure her planners told her that if you're going to go down to the border, go to something that's safer to go to, that is politically safer. If you go down to the Lower Rio Grande with a high activity and you're there with kids and families, prosecutorial discretion where people are being released, high numbers of people crossing the border, politically it's harder to do that. I know that. I mean, that's part of my district, but you got to do what you got to do. You just can't, just go to one place. But she does do the check the box and go down to the border by going to El Paso. And by the way,
just to be clear, you're a Democratic congressman from Texas. You've been pleading for help, and you just talked about a politically safe trip on behalf of the vice president. Is that how you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and like I said, it is a politically safe trip. She doesn't have to worry about anything with this. All right, let's go. I think we might be losing some interest here, so let's finish out here. Then we got to do live chat, but let's keep going. From clickorlando.com. Search for man accused of shooting Daytona Beach officer expands far beyond Central Florida. Search includes parts of Georgia, sources say. The manhunt for Orthal Wallace, the man accused of shooting a Daytona Beach police officer, Jason Rayner, in the head, has expanded far beyond Central Florida, according to Volusia County Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office revealed that information in a Facebook post, which also features body camera footage from deputies who responded to the search for the 29-year-old Wallace following the shooting Wednesday night.
Daytona?
Yeah, we need you back at 133.
Just listen.
Okay.
Have you ever shot anybody?
No.
Have you ever been shot at?
No.
Listen, very carefully.
Mhm.
This could end in a bad situation if we find this guy.
Hey guys.
Have you all seen someone like running really hard? Well, somebody just shot a cop in the head.
All right, so that's some of the camera footage that goes along with that. I think that's kind of funny. Y'all seen anybody running hard? But I also find it hilarious the briefing of this. Have you ever shot anybody? Have you ever been shot at? That's got to be a rookie that's in the car with him. A source close to the investigation told News 6 that the manhunt has expanded into Georgia, including the Atlanta area. U.S. Marshals have joined the search for Wallace. Officers at an Atlanta airport tell News 6 that they are told to be on the lookout for Wallace on Thursday. Wallace may have friends in the Atlanta area, so officers are checking all their sources to see if he is in Georgia. The 26-year-old officer was shot in the head Wednesday night in the 100 block of Kingston Avenue in Daytona Beach, south of Mason Avenue and west of North Beach Street, while patrolling the area, according to Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young. News 6 will not be showing any pictures of Rayner at his family's request. Young said Rayner, who's been with the department for about 3 years, notices a suspicious vehicle near an apartment building and investigated the situation. When Rayner confronted the suspect got out of the car and shot him in the head and drove off. Young said. Body camera video released by police shows the confrontation between the officer and Wallace. This might be graphic.
How's it going? Do you live here?
What's going on?
Sit down. Sit. Sit.
Sir.
Can you sit down? I'll talk to you.
Okay,
Stop.
come on now.
Sit.
Come on now.
Sit.
Don't do this.
Sit down.
Why are you asking me, do I live here?
Do you live here? Yes or no?
What's going on, though?
Charlie 777.
No, back up.
Stop. Stop.
Okay, so that didn't get to the graphic part. Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood said a $100,000 reward is being offered for information leading to the capture of Wallace. He's considered armed and dangerous and believed to be driving a gray 2016 Honda HR-V bearing California license plate number 7TNX. That is Tango November X-Ray 532, officials said. So, any of you guys down in that area that know anything about this or see anything about this, if you see anything, say something, especially if it's a California license plate. That should stick out like a sore thumb down there. But we'll see what happens. From the Hill. House passes veterans contraception, LGBTQ business bills previously blocked by the GOP. From Christina Marcos. The House passed 2 bills on Thursday to promote credit fairness for LGBT-owned businesses and ensure that veterans can access contraceptive health care without co-pays after both measures failed to advance under an expedited process last week. House Democratic leaders had scheduled votes on the 2 bills last week under the fast-track process used for bipartisan legislation that requires a 2/3 supermajority for passage, since they were under the impression that Republicans would support them. But Republicans largely opposed both bills, resulting in the measures falling short of the necessary supermajority for passage and prompting Democrats to take them up again this week under a process only requiring a simple majority for passage. In both cases, top Republicans and the respective committees of jurisdiction supported the bills, while the majority of the GOP conference did not. So basically, they changed the rules and they won. That's all that we have going on with this one here. But this video surfaced talking about contraception. Miss Maria Black, COVID cave dweller, says Plan B is contraception. It does not terminate pregnancy. It prevents it. The abortion pill is not Plan B. This chick is too dumb to be real. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene had something to say about Plan B contraception. Let's listen. While this woman gets another headline and they hide something else off of this. She's a plant.
I'd like to just take a minute to remind everyone that words matter and their meanings need to be exactly clear. Contraception stops a woman from becoming pregnant. The Plan B pill kills a baby in the womb once a woman is already pregnant. You see, Equal Access to Contraception for Veterans Act is not contraception. It's providing, with taxpayer dollars, the ability for women to have an abortion. The government should not be paying for abortion. I'd like to just take a minute to remind.
I can't comment on it because I don't know how any of it works. I guess that would depend on where your definition of abortion is, whether it's at conception or before implantation or viability or anything else like that. I can't comment on that because I don't know. All right, some news that slipped through the cracks this week. Derek Chauvin will be sentenced on Friday for the murder of George Floyd. Here's what to expect. From Tori B. Powell. Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer who was convicted of murder in the death of George Floyd, is scheduled to be sentenced on Friday, where he could face decades in prison. Prosecutors are calling for a 30-year sentence, saying the former officer brutally murdered Mr. Floyd, abusing the authority conferred by his badge. For someone with no criminal history, Minnesota sentencing guidelines suggest a range of just over 10.5 years to 15 years in prison. Meanwhile, Chauvin's defense team is requesting probation or shorter prison term, citing his lack of criminal history and previous work. Richard Frace, a criminal law professor at University of Minnesota, said it's not uncommon for Chauvin's defense team to request probation, but said the judge would have to find substantial and compelling circumstances to grant this. Given the extreme high visibility of this case and the very strong feelings about the case, I would be surprised if the judge did grant probation, Frey said. And you'll notice that media is downplaying this hard, because I don't think he's going to get the maximum 40. I don't think there's any reason at all for him to get the maximum 40. And I think anything less than the maximum 40 is going to cause more riots. So they don't want people paying attention to this, but this is happening right now. In April, Chauvin was convicted of second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter, two of which cannot exist together at the same time. In Floyd's death, graphic video captured Chauvin, who was white, kneeling on the neck of George Floyd, who was black, because that's the most important detail of this case. For more than 9 minutes during a May 2020, Chauvin has been held at the state's only maximum security prison, the Minnesota Correctional Facility, Oak Park Heights. 3 other former officers involved in Floyd's fatal arrest also face state and federal charges. Judge Cahill, who will be sentencing Chauvin on Friday and should also be debenched and fucking disbarred, previously found aggravating factors that could be subject for the former officer to a longer sentence than the 15 years suggested by state guidelines. Cahill said that Floyd was begging for his life and obviously terrified by the knowledge that he was likely to die. Suck on that big blue donkey dick more, you fucking corrupt, crooked fucking judge. But Chauvin objectively remained indifferent to Floyd's pleas and acted with particular cruelty. In May, the attorneys representing Floyd's family, including attorney Benjamin Crump, who is everywhere, at the same time applauded Cahill's findings, saying that it could appropriately lengthen Chauvin's sentence. The application of justice in this case offers hope that we will see real change in the relationship between police and the people of color, holding officers properly accountable for egregious behavior and failing to honor sanctity of all lives, the attorney said in a statement. 2 groups, the Communities United Against Police Brutality and Families Supporting Families Against Police Violence, have scheduled a march for Friday afternoon in downtown Minneapolis. They're expecting more than 100 attendees. Oh, this is going to get interesting. We'll be talking about this on Monday, because we're going to have all these attendees in a Black Lives Matter march, and nothing bad is going to happen at all. On Friday, Cahill will consider recommendations from both prosecutors, and Chauvin's defense team, along with pre-sentencing investigation report prepared by the Department of Corrections on Friday afternoon at the Hennepin County Government Center. If this guy gets 39 years and 364 days, they're going to burn that city down, just so you know. If he gets anything less than 40 years, they're going to burn that city down. From Fox 9. Legal experts share predictions for Chauvin sentencing. From Courtney Godfrey. Minnesota legal experts are sharing their predictions for Friday's sentencing of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Fox 9 will be airing Chauvin's sentencing live on Fox 9 and fox9.com/live at 1:30 p.m. Central Time in April. A jury convicted Chauvin on all counts of the murder of George Floyd. While Floyd's family is expected to speak at the hearing, it is still unknown if Chauvin will use his opportunity to make a statement. If he says, "I'm sorry for what I did," or admits any guilt in a sentencing statement, that statement could be used against him in federal persecution as well, says criminal defense attorney Ryan Pasija, who's not involved with the Chauvin case. Pasija says it's highly unlikely Chauvin will make a statement, as he is still waiting to stand trial in federal court. He's in a tight spot, said Pasija. I mean, a lot of times, if someone is convicted, you at least want them to talk about that they have insight into some impact of their actions caused the victim and their family, but at the same time, most people speaking on their own behalf don't have to worry about a federal prosecution. Trial Judge Peter Cahill is expected to go higher than sentencing guidelines recommended. Many experts estimate Chauvin will get 20 to 25 years. Bullshit. They're going to throw the book at him. This is a politically motivated case. This is a case that they're trying to make an example of because every fucking eye is on this. And he's caving and bending the fucking knee to the mob. They're throwing the book at him, I promise you. Judge Cahill has indicated he's appalled by what Chauvin did and he's willing to hold him accountable in a significant way, said Rachel Moran, a law professor at University of St. Thomas. Cahill's doing whatever the mob told him to do. Whatever the DNC, whatever Keith Ellison and the mob have told him to do. There is no legal aspect in this case anymore. This is mob justice. Nothing else. This is mob justice. Which is no justice at all. You're wrong, Vampire Hunter D. I did cover that. You just got here late. That was right here. We did talk about that one. All right. One more here on this one, then we'll do just a few more, then we'll head out of here for the day without, but not without doing live chat, of course. All the names are here. If you're just lurking right now, get those last-minute messages in. From Newsweek, statue of George Floyd vandalized day before Chauvin sentencing. From Zoe Kalin Hill. A statue of St. George, hallowed be his name, was vandalized in Brooklyn, New York on Thursday, one day before the sentencing of Derek Chauvin. The 6-foot statue was unveiled at 1545 Flatbush Avenue as part of the Juneteenth celebration over the weekend. According to police, Floyd's face and the inscription were spray-painted black. The phrase PatriotFront.us was sprayed in white on the side of the statue. An NYPD spokesperson told Newsweek the graffiti is the web address for a white nationalist, white supremacist group, Patriot Front. I'm going to call that one a hoax 8. I'm going to come out and say that was some black dude in the middle of this that said, I want to stir up another controversy. And they put that on there. Patriot Front was founded in 2017 by members who split from Vanguard America following the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. The police have believed the vandalism occurred after 3 a.m. on Thursday, but the graffiti was not discovered until 7:20 a.m., police said. The New York Police Department's Hate Crimes Task Force announced via Twitter they were investigating the defacement as a possible hate crime. The New York Daily News reported the NYPD's racial and ethnically motivated extremism unit was also on the case. Hoax. 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 NYPD Chief of Department Rodney Harrison told the New York Post an extensive video canvass was being conducted as part of the investigation. Mysteriously, they're not going to have any sort of CCTV or any sort of security camera footage of this. It just happened to happen where nobody could see it. Hoax! All right. Let's talk about white rage. Jack Posobiec tweets out, breaking chairman of the Joint Chiefs says critical race theory is important, blames Capitol riot on white rage.
Sure. First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States antebellum laws prior to the Civil War that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look it, I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military. And I thank you for the opportunity to make a comment on that.
Thank you, General.
So that's what he's having to say here. The woke military, folks. The wokest of the woke. From the Hill. Joint Chiefs Chairman clashes with GOP on race theory, white rage, from Ellen Mitchell. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman, Army General Mark Milley on Wednesday said it was important for service members to understand critical race theory, shooting down assertions by Republican lawmakers that studying the topic was harmful to military cohesion. In an impromptu and passionate statement, Milley at the House Armed Service Committee hearing rejected the assertion that critical race theory and such other teachings could be damaging, telling lawmakers that a lot of us have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read, and it's important that we train and we understand. Milley said, we want to understand white rage, and I'm white. What is it that caused thousands of people to assault the building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that the leaders now and in the future do understand it. Critical race theory, a relatively new academic concept in the eyes of the public despite being more than 40 years old, promotes the idea that racism is a pervasive issue and that is steeped in U.S. and society and its legal systems. Republicans in the past year have sought to politicize the issue and ban or limit the teaching of the theory in schools, particularly following the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, when a violent mob of former President Trump supporters sought to overturn President Biden's election win. I've read Mao Zedong, I've read Karl Marx, I've read Lenin, Miley said during the hearing. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with the understanding, having some situational understanding about the country from which we are here to defend? Well, the problem is it's based in complete fiction. See, there is some difference between going with CRT and going with Marx and Lenin. Well, there's not complete difference, but there's some difference there because Marx and Lenin did take a fictitious look at the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat to try and make a political structure, and critical race theory does the same. But as far as I can tell, critical race theory is based completely in fiction. And there were some class issues that were going on in Russia at the time. So, regardless, I mean, if you want to read it, read it. If you don't, don't. That's the end of it. It should be an option. People should be able to take it, but as far as the requirement of it, no, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that at all. And that's the issue that we're getting to, the required CRT training that's going in these public schools. So that's where we're going to go with from that. From Twitter, this stupid shit. Take Back America, calling on the cult to take action. Letting this fucker go for 1/6 crimes will result in more attacks guaranteed. Quote tweeting Spiro Agnew's ghost. Unhinged lunatic comments from an unhinged lunatic. Statement by Donald J. Trump, former president of the United States. Can you believe that New York wants to strip Rudy Giuliani, a great American patriot, of his law license because he's been fighting what has already been proven to be a fraudulent election? The greatest mayor in the history of New York, okay? The Elliot Ness of his generation. One of the great... Wow, that's a reach. Wow, that's an oldie. One of the greatest crime fighters our country's ever known. And this is what radical left does to him. All of New York is out of control. Crime is at an all-time high. It's nothing but a witch hunt. And they should be ashamed of themselves. Take back America. Which, of course... They had to come back and link to this because apparently some white supremacist group in the 60s also liked to say, take back America. These people are just looking for something racist to find. It's a dog whistle! It's not a dog whistle. the former president's a fucking idiot. And the fact that you could find this racism so quickly makes me question how you view other races other than your own, to be completely honest. If you know so quickly where to find this stuff. From the LA Times. Revenge porn conviction is a first under California law. Three years ago, Joe Iniguez and his girlfriend broke up. That's when he decided to get even, persecutors said. He posted a topless photograph of his ex-girlfriend on her employee's Facebook page, along with messages calling her a drunk and a slut and encouraging her firing, they said. Until recently, his actions would have been outside the reach of the law because victims were not offered protection from people who intentionally posted their nude photographs without their consent. Really? That seems to be something that should be up here. Wait a second. I'm looking at this for just a second. This is an old article. Because that's showing Kamala Harris as AG, and this is from 2014. Never mind, we're not going to do this one here. But Katie Hill was coming out to try to do this because I know that Katie Hill is going back to still try to fight the fact that she was only resigned because of revenge porn and not because she was fucking a staffer against health ethics rules. And Pelosi said that she was going to make her life a living hell if she didn't resign. Let's do one more here and let's do live chat for the day. We're not going to do old news stories though. Especially not one that's 7 years old. Alright, this one is from yesterday though. Hillary Clinton warned in 2009 of potential biological weapons proliferation in Wuhan lab, leaked cable shows. As the coronavirus pandemic wreaked havoc on America during Donald Trump's presidency last year, failed Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton lambasted as racist the president's suggestion that the virus may have originated in a Chinese lab. Just over a decade earlier, however, then Secretary of State Clinton seems to have a much different perspective. According to a leaked State Department cable from 2009, Clinton expressed concerns that the Wuhan Institute of Virology, newly accredited with Biosafety Level 4 clearance, could lead to biological weapons proliferation. The cable, obtained by WikiLeaks, has unearthed human events appear to have been sent in June to member nations ahead of the Australia's group's plenary meeting in Paris, scheduled September 21st to the 25th. According to its website, the Australia Group is an informal forum of countries that seek to ensure that exports do not contribute to the development of chemical or biological weapons. China is not a member country. At the outset of the cable, Clinton stated, "We believe it is important to focus on emerging chemical and biological technologies, trends in the trades of CBW-related goods, and threats," later specifically addressing France. Clinton wrote, "The U.S. believes participants would benefit from hearing about your experiences assisting China in setting up a biosafety level 4 lab at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. From the export control and intangible technology transfer perspectives, we are particularly interested to know how China plans to vet incoming foreign researchers from countries of biological weapons proliferation concern." In 2003, the Institute of Virology was approved by the Chinese Academy of Sciences to begin construction of a BSL-4 lab. The project was eventually completed in 2014 with significant help along the way from France and also Barack Obama. Earlier in the cable, Clinton voiced concerns about China's involvement in biological weapons proliferation in general. She asked Australia to relay what it knew about China's institutes of biological products, using overhead imagery analysis if possible, and share its perceptions of the CBW proliferation activities by Chinese entities. Alright. So, yeah, they knew about this. They knew about what was going on with this, and yet they chose to use this for electoral activities, let's say that. Except nothing bad happened. And this entire election was completely above board. Alright! That's it. You guys were done. And of course, it's Friday as well, so now it's time to say thank you to the people who have spent their time with me today. And of course, we're going to start from the beginning, but we will come back to this after we look back at the beginning of the week. Let's start off here, though. On Monday, this has been a busy week, too, except for Tuesday. Tuesday was a little bit slow, but every other day this week has been pretty busy, full of stuff. And I know that Restream was being kind of fucking shitty, too, and not saving everybody in their chat tracker. But regardless, we'll still get everybody's name in here. I actually watched through the old videos and said, okay, I'm still going to write everybody's name down because I like hanging out with you guys. You guys are cool. And you're at the beginning of this. You know, if this channel gets big and we get 75 viewers per live stream, like we need to get to the partner program for Twitch, then I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. But you guys here are the foundation. You guys are helping me build this channel, and I love the fact that you're doing it. So tell a friend and tell 10 friends. And have them go over on Twitch, too, if they can, because then we get money. All right, let's see what we got. On Monday, we had Quest Fanning, Spartan 0000, Superior 1, Vampire Hunter D, R-Volt, Chilaga 1984, Random Randy was here, and he said Random Randy is here. Ron Helton, we had an Oikodal, that was a new name, so welcome in, Sully Blue. Toby Dog 16. That was a Twitch name that I couldn't quite figure out, but thanks for coming and joining us anyway. On Tuesday, we had Random Randy, who was here. Sully Blue, Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru, came in and hung out with us, which I know he's got some juicy stuff in the chat today, too, so we will see that. Quest Fanning was here, Ron Helton was here, Chilaga 1984 joined us. On Wednesday, Random Randy was here. Sully Blue, Ron Helton, Quest Fanning, Chilaga 1984, Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru. And then we had a Clyde Midia that showed up here. And I want to address something that Clyde Midia said yesterday, on Wednesday rather. Just because it's important that we talk about it here. Now, I don't do live chat during the show. You guys all know that. Most of you that are in here right now are regulars. You know how I do the show because we need to jump out of here and I need to get to work. And I'm actually running a little bit on the late side right now, but we can't go without thanking the live chat at this point. So, regardless of that, that's cool. And I do read everybody. I read the chat all the way through after the show. I do not let your chats go unread. Your chats are not going unheard. But Clyde Midia, first off, he gets pissy with me because I didn't read the chat in front of him. I'd like to see you go on Ben Shapiro's channel and get pissy with him for not reading your live chat. Or Styx, or somebody else like that. When they do live shows, when they've got big audiences. We have a format to set up, and I do set aside time to read live chat for people. But also, if you're going to come in with a bad faith question right off the bat, are you left-wing or are you racist? Even if I did read live chat in this program, I wouldn't have read that. Because fuck you. You don't get to come in here and make a bad faith argument and expect to be catered to immediately as soon as you do that. So move along, go find something in your echo chamber, or come in and have a discussion with people who think differently from you, and maybe they'll change your mind. Maybe you'll change their minds. But have a discussion with people who think differently from you. That's how we get ahead in this. Not come in and say, it's either my way or you're a racist. Fuck you. All right, yesterday we had Random Randy was here, Chilaga 1984. Sully Blue showed up. Vampire Hunter D was here. EOR Explorers followed us yesterday, by the way. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us. Hope to see you a little bit more. Maybe we'll see you in like tomorrow where I'm doing the live chat show, which yes, we're doing a Net Talk tomorrow. I'm still have to set up the event, but we're doing that. And I'm actually starting to lose some of your messages here because you guys have messaged so much and so powerfully. I love it. Spartan was here. Quest. Stormy Daniels also followed yesterday, so thanks for coming in. Left a couple of messages, but haven't seen anything else. Plus, we had Arvold. I got to get caught up on this chat because otherwise I'm going to lose all your chat here. But we had Sully Blue at the beginning and Quest Fanning over on the YouTube side. But now he's over on the Twitch side, so welcome in, you guys. Sully Blue says, hey, Quest. Ben Wild says, trust the plan. What's the plan? It's a cue joke. Yeah, that's my cue joke at the top. Hey, do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Oh, now you guys are actually going to start trying to move this on me, aren't you? Or no, it's the robot. Ben Wild says, last time I had 27 tabs. I tripped balls for a week. Thought Biden was elected president. I was so fucked up. Sully says, Money says it'll be a short episode. Ben Wild says, don't do drugs. This is your country on drugs. I love it. Ben Wild says, ever notice that Puma makes better sneakers than Nike? Nike's all marketing. Literally, Nike is Taylor Swift. All hype for a shit product. I liked Taylor Swift when she first came out. You know, when she was a country star and, you know, it was kind of, you know, fun little ditties about romance and stuff like that. I mean, it was still overly hyped pop music, but it at least had good music behind it. I mean, it wasn't just all shitty corporate lyrics. And she is a good guitar player. I will give her that. Except I'm pretty sure after these last 4 albums that she hasn't seen a guitar in years. Nike seriously needs to hire better sweatshops. Burn. Oops. Shalaga says, I'll never willingly buy Nikes again. Nike's the Arkansas shoe. You guys must like Nike a lot. Nike's the Arkansas shoe company. It's like, are we supposed to like them, but we can't figure out why. I do think they're more comfortable than Under Armour shoes. That could be. Ben Wild says, it's always an interesting business plan. Let's piss off a huge market share and reduce the quality of our product to pay for the extra marketing to get people to buy our shit product. Slap a swoosh on it, call it a day. Ben Wild says, my favorite infrastructure is wood erection. Yes, the classic pine towers are a great piece of infrastructure, especially a pine water tower. That is a great wood erection. Ben says, I apologize for being a train wreck. I have blood glucose issues in the AM. Yeah, mine's a little bit low too. I got to get out of here and see if I can throw some breakfast together before work. It's pretty entertaining. He also reads chat on Friday. Yep, I'm here. Sully Blue says it's called Don't Fucking Talk to Me Until I Finish, because he's got lack of coffee issues in the AM. I've had coffee for a little while just because it's been so fucking humid, and I'm not like you Florida people where I'm used to the humidity. I drink a lot of Bang, though. I do drink a lot of Bang. In fact, if Bang was paying me even a little bit of money, what is in this Quick Trip glass here would be in a can that says Bang. It would actually be the can that's right over here to my left because I poured it in the glass in my desk. But yeah, if they were paying me, it would be in their vessel. Let's see. Ben says, Ed's a smart, knowledgeable, and reasoned guy. Shame he doesn't have cleavage. Well, I mean, I can push together a little bit to see what we can do, but Shalaga says, Ed has done his homework when it comes to the law and constitution. I actually went for a law degree instead of going to mechanic school. I thought about it. Every once in a while, I still think about it, to be completely honest. Sully said he's seen both free and paid charging. Well, that's news to me, I guess. Chilago says, my understanding, some Tesla drivers got grandfathered into free charging if they bought early enough. I think most are free because cities and companies are pushing for them. That could be too. I thought it was like a $5,000 option to have unlimited access. I don't know. That's interesting to go. In Florida, unless it's changed, all Tesla stations are free for Teslas, but they're more common, so that may have changed. I would think that, you just throw your card in and you get the charge. But once again, I don't know how it all works. Ben says you can pedal a damn bike for nothing, literally free, and you don't have to search for a charging station. Then again, cycling attracts huge douches. Plus, you also still need to eat. Sully says, I love biking for exercise. I just hate all the douches riding in major roadways that are 45 when they cruise 25. Trains are beyond comprehension. A border wall disturbs wildlife patterns and natural areas, but a fucking train traveling 90 miles an hour doesn't. No, they just sort of hit the deer and it rolls off at 90 miles an hour. By my house, there's a whole ass river walk with a paved trail. Those fuckers still ride in the lane. Is that down by where we stayed, Sully, when we were down there? Because I remember there was supposedly a nature trail, and I want to go back down and stay in that same place because I want to explore that nature trail. But yeah, I have to wonder if that's where we stayed. And I could possibly, honestly, pick up Stephen Ignoramus and stay in the same place. I just have to book it now because he got kicked off of fucking Airbnb. What? How do you get kicked off Airbnb? Seriously. You're in San Antonio. I used to live there. I am not, but I know somebody who is. Fuck the Riverwalk, just a food court for tourists. No, I'm in Florida, but any Riverwalk I've seen, it's the same thing on every fucking one. Quest has said I've encountered several nice trails. They removed the tracks from an unused line, pave about 8 feet wide, and make it a nice, easy trail. I did some urban planning, and the manufactured Main Street experience is big right now. The riverfront thing seems to be tailing. Everything is driven by parking. More successful ones will have plenty of parking, otherwise it just chokes itself out. They're doing some city planning over here. Honk honk poppy, yep. Release the Kraken, release the kittens. Nice. My favorite room right there. I've been having trouble with Twitch this morning. It keeps going quiet even as I see it moving on the screen. Hopefully it's just today. I haven't noticed such things before. It might just be when Spectrum drops us out for half a second. It's the Twitch Glitch Fest. Select committee is just code for double secret probation and government aid and just the tip. Oh. Quest's dad is turning 75 and still maintains his professional engineer's license to this day. A symbol of freedom, Freeball Nation, and tight underwear. Who would have thought that reclaimed wetlands might be unstable? That area north of Tampa is the sinkhole capital of the world. All that limestone. I guess I don't know anything about that. Maybe Obama's doing smoke them while you got him. That condo clearly just collapsed because of white supremacy. Ben Wild's on fire this morning. What is this, CNN? Why was it recorded off a monitor instead of digitally transferred? That building went down quicker than a porn star on OnlyFans. If I got into the Discord more often, I may never come out. Yeah, but we have good conversations over there. I saw a video yesterday claiming most occupants were Jews! Jews! And it was an attack. I still remember a few hundred folks dug out of the rubble after the Twin Towers were destroyed, and thank God, and God is good for the fact that they were able to get back out of there. Arbolt is here. It says, tinfoil alert. This is why is the media so focused on this building collapse, but almost no mention of McAfee's suicide? Yeah, that's going to go away in a hurry. You can't threaten the government with big-ass trucks and flags. You need F-15s and nukes. You should see the number of Nissan Altimas that brake check my Humvee. Like, do you asswipes know what happens when metal hits collapsible plastic crumble zones? Sully says, I had a dude pull out in front of me on the from the shoulder, and I almost locked up. Then he brake checked me literally as you were talking about it. It was fate. It was meant to be. Thank God my company puts cameras on all these trucks. Arvold. Let me sniff your hair, man. President's a job that'll age you 2 extra decades, and this is Joe's starting position, says Quest Fanning. Also says, time for cackling. Of all the losers' wives, hair is pulled from obscurity. Yep. Was he wearing a frickin' kufi? I don't know what that is. Vampire Hunter D says, just another dead druggie. NFAC leader shot a Daytona cop in the head. Zero coverage. No, we got it. Don't worry, Vampire Hunter D. I got you. I got you. You're my guy. Quest says, they ever get your order wrong at Starbucks? Hashtag white rage. No, they never get my order wrong at Starbucks because I never fucking go there. But it is funny. I like that. Sully says, to be fair, if I'm paying $5 or more for a coffee, shit better not be wrong. Yeah, I'm a Dunkin' Donuts guy myself. Quest says, my dad's been regarding the book on CRT to disambiguate actual elements of theory from claims of race baiters who like it so much. My wife's uncle also always calls it $5. Quest says, is there implied consent when you pose? Not to distribute, but you are putting a level of trust in a person not to distribute as well. There is a reason. I know that that's kind of the thing now is, oh, and I'm dating again, so back out in the dating pool. Well, you're supposed to send your dick pic. Really? I'm working on becoming a public figure, and I have political aspirations. No, thank you. I'm going to keep that in my fucking pants. Because if it comes out and I break somebody's heart, even inadvertently, that shit's going to CNN. And it might get me laid a little bit more, but it definitely will derail my political ambitions. You guys shouldn't be sending naked pics anyway. I mean, seriously. I honestly thought it was just a joke. What Clyde Media said, no, he was being a dick. But I can definitely see where Ed's angry with him. We don't know him from Adam. For a while, I thought the plan was a reference to the COVID restrictions. Nope, it's a Q thing. Quest says Taylor Swift has nice legs. Does she sing too? Q is Hitler. No, you never get used to the humidity. It lifts and separates. In New York City, the law is if a bike lane is provided, they're not allowed to be anywhere else. No, there's a different trail, but not far. Ban cars, horses now. And Quest Fanning will finish out the day with my favorite comment of the day that says, Duncan rules. Let's get out of here, shall we? Where's my music? Let's get my music up here. Where's my music? Did I close my music? Motherfucker. Why would I do a thing like that? Alright, so thanks you guys for coming and hanging out and chatting live with us through the week and today as well. I always love to see you guys, and you guys had some really good live chats today. That was probably one of my favorite ones to see. We will be back here tomorrow for an Ed Talk, and then we're going to really focus on live chat, and we'll do some Discord calls too, so make sure you guys come back and check that out, tell some friends, and I always say we're going to do an hour, but if you guys can get 20 people in the live chat concurrently, and I'll be watching the restream so we can get them on all platforms. On all platforms, 20 people, we will go for 90 minutes. Let's see if we can get 20 people in there tomorrow. That it will be at 5:30 Central Time. And tonight, before I go to bed, I will make the event too, so you guys can go start sharing it out as well. I gotta get to work though. It's already 9:30. We're gonna go raid Stephen Ignoramus. If you're over on Twitch, stick around and we're gonna go and raid him over there. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow for Ed Talk, or Monday for more contemporary, or the Red and Ed show. So come back and hang out with us for all of those great programs. I've just had a mental brain fart in there at the end here, so that must mean it's time that it must mean I've been talking for way too long. Let's get the hell out of here. 2 hours, 12 minutes. Contemporary number 345. We'll be back here tomorrow. Come and hang out. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.